In Los Angeles, we used to go on picnics when I was a kid. Big picnics, like maybe 20, 25 people, all relatives, you know, distant cousins and friends too. Some friends and of the relatives, a lot of. I don't know exactly. I think we went south near Santa Ana. I'm sure there was some name, city of Santa Ana was down in that area. It was on a river. We'd go occasionally. We used to catch crawdads. We'd use liver on a string with a little pole, you know, and put them in the creek, and the crawdads would grab them with their pinchers. Crawdads are like a little lobster, you know what they are.
Yeah, sure.
And we'd throw them out, and we'd catch 40, 50, 100 of them. Everybody was fishing for crawdads, kids and adults. And then they'd get a big pot, boil them up, and they used to make their own beer, home brew. They'd drink beer and eat these crawdads. And the women, of course, would have bread and cake and, you know, other stuff, corn and vegetables. We used to go there on picnics, and kids would play and have fun. And the men would drink beer and play cards and catch crawdads and tell stories. Women would knit and do the things that women would do in those days. My mother had a wooden stove, you know. We'd get cold in the morning sometimes. Even in California, it got pretty cold. We'd run in, she'd get up early before anybody and start the stove going. We'd run and huddle around the stove to get warm. And it was all wood, you know, nothing. And she cooked with a wooden stove when I was real small. And I don't really remember the wooden stove for cooking. I remember part of it. I remember the pot-bellied stove that you could cook on. It had a couple, when I was
Wait a minute, you had to light a fire in it?
Huh? Oh, yeah. So just with kindling wood.
Kind of like this?
Yeah. Well, it was smaller than this. It had a pot-bellied one. You open it, it had two things on the top that you could take off, you know, and where you put a frying pan on them or a pan of water to boil.
And you had a
chimney that went out of the house. Yeah, sure. Linoleum on the floor. I remember the linoleum floors. Thin wooden walls. We only had, I guess the house had, I really don't know. I think it had 2 bedrooms. Then my dad built a bedroom for my brother and I outside of the house. And that's where I grew up, in that bedroom. It wasn't very big. We had 2 old spring mattresses. You've slept on one of them. Springs, and then a mattress on the springs, and they were narrow, you know, like single beds, only narrow.
Were in the guest house?
More like a big cot rather than a small bed.
Those the ones that were in the guest house?
Well, you'd call it a guest house. It was attached by a porch to the house.
I mean, the guest house at Grandma's house.
Yeah, that's where you slept on them. And it had a walkway just wide enough to walk from the door down, and at the back there was a dresser there. It may have been 2 dressers in the back with about 1.5 feet between the dresser and the end of the bed. And I guess I had a dresser and my brother had a dresser. I don't remember there being a closet at all. The closet probably was on the inside of the house. We probably just put our clothes at the foot of the bed or something. There was no closet, no shelves, just that dresser. We had no place to put toys, you know. We had no toys to put in the first place. When I was real little, of course, we were living in the house. I remember when I knew the time that I learned there wasn't Santa Claus. We always had Christmas, a big family affair. Uncles and aunts and cousins would all have Christmas together. And Christmas Eve, I remember what I got that Christmas Eve. I got a fire engine, you know, about a toy fire engine. One that you could sit on and push around, if I remember right. But Santa Claus was my Uncle Rudy. And he was playing Santa Claus with a beard and a red hat, and I guess he had a sort of a Santa Claus uniform on. And he came in with some of the toys, and I said, "That's not Santa Claus, that's Uncle Rudy," after he started talking. And then I realized there is no Santa Claus.
You just realized it?
Yeah, at that time it's when I realized that there was no Santa. Prior to that, I always thought there was a Santa Claus. He fooled me every year before then. I don't know how old I was, 8 or 9 maybe, at the most. June, how old is Lauren?
Laura.
Lauren.
Oh,
9?
9 or 10.
Yeah, she's telling Bruce that those kids are, this was before Christmas, she was telling her dad that before Christmas that they're telling her there's no Santa Claus. And he said, well, you wait and see. They won't get any presents. Santa Claus won't give them any presents. He didn't confirm the fact, but I guess that's about when you learn it normally.
Yeah.
But that's what I remember specifically that particular Christmas, because there was no Santa Claus. When I was older, of course, we used to celebrate New Year's and Christmas at home, but New Year's was sort of an interesting celebration because all the guys would go out and shoot their shotguns, all the men, you know.
Well, like just shoot them up in the air?
Yeah, at midnight. But in addition to all the shotguns being shot off, and you could hear them all over the neighborhood. Everybody had a shotgun, you know. All the neighbors, everybody.
And that was what everybody did throughout the whole city of Los Angeles?
I don't know about the rest of the city, but they'd run out where we lived and bam,
Boom, boom, boom.
We had firecrackers, real lady fingers and bigger firecrackers. And then being right near the railroad marshaling, all those engineers working the trains that night at the midnight, they'd blow those whistles. And you could hear those trains, woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd go on for about 30 minutes, blowing those whistles and shooting the firecrackers and the guns. And it was quite a wild time, you know. Fireworks, we never had any fireworks that I recall when I was a kid. Firecrackers, but no fireworks. Now, they had a fireworks show at the Coliseum after the Coliseum was built, but that was a long time later, and that's much older when I went there. We used to blow up, get carbide. I don't know where we got it. I think there was a place nearby. And we'd put it in water. It makes gas. Acetylene is what it makes. You know, carbide and water create acetylene. And blow up cans somehow with it. And I was trying to think the other day what kind of a container. Maybe we just put a can, put it in the water, and like put in a little jar or something with a little can. Carbide. Yeah.
What is carbide?
It's a mineral, I think. I don't know where they get it or whether it's manufactured or not. I think it's natural.
And you mix it with water?
And you'd there'd be a little bowl of water, and we'd pour the carbide, was more like gravelly,
like
sandy, like little gravel, and put a can over it with a place where you have a wick, and then the can, it would start generating gas, and then you put a light, and it'd blow that can way up in the air. It would explode. And a guy named, and I remembered this yesterday, I was thinking about this. His name was Nick Basura, and he was blowing this stuff up behind Proggy Cordova's house. And an alley ran up behind Proggy's house. The site was here, and there was an alley, and that alley went up the road there and up the hill. And man, the can blew up and hit him in the eye, and he lost his eye.
Oh,
Put his eye out, he blinded him.